Hi, everybody. Welcome to Women in Retail Talks. I'm your host, Melissa Campanelli, the co-founder of the Women in Retail Leadership Circle. And I'm thrilled to be chatting today with Ruth Hartman, who's just named president of Lord & Taylor. She's the former chief merchandising officer at Tote. And I'm sure those of you who are listening know that Tote recently purchased Lord & Taylor. So we're going to be talking about her career journey, what Ruth is working on now, and her goals and plans for the future. So welcome, Ruth. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you so much for inviting me to be part of this.
Great. This is such a busy time for you. So it really means a lot to us. So why don't we start talking a little bit about your career journey, sort of how did you end up at Tote and now Lord & Taylor?
Sure. So as you may know, I started my career on the East Coast. So I'm an East Coast gal, even though I've been on the West Coast for a long time. So went to college in Boston. I actually worked at Lord & Taylor when I was in college. I was a sales associate in the men's furnishings department. So It's funny how things come full circle. I started my career at Henry Bendel in New York, and then came west to work for Macy's West in San Francisco, where I really had a lot of great training. I started as an assistant buyer. I ended as a GMM SVP. From there, I went to DSW to run their women's footwear business, which is the lion's share of the business there. And that was an amazing experience. And 5 years ago, almost to the day, I came to Tote. And the reason I did that was to really cut my teeth on something that was extremely different, much more entrepreneurial, and certainly something that was revolutionary from a timing standpoint in terms of being a rental subscription business. So it is interesting in terms of being full circle now to be named and very proud to be named president of Lord & Taylor. It really allows me to keep a foot in both lands, if you will, from a transformative retail department store experience and really integrating that with the technology that we've built at Tote.
Perfect. Yeah. And I think you sort of answered my next question, but what is it about your background that makes you a great fit? I mean, I would say that it's the mix of the traditional retail and then the fact that you were at Tote and working in digital. Is there anything that you wanted to add to that? Is there anything unique in your experience that makes you the perfect fit for this position?
Well, hopefully I will be the perfect fit. I'm going to do my best to make it that way. I think really it is about the, again, that integration of having been at Macy's and DSW and really, two terrific monikers of big retail companies, really cutting my teeth there and learning all of the ropes of retail and business, and really then taking that experience into, as you said, this much more innovative culture. So certainly Lord & Taylor, we're going to try to transform it and bring it to a new level, keeping the Lord & Taylor brand alive because of the heritage of that brand and how important it is to its customer base, while giving it a refresh and breathing new life into what is a very traditional retail model. So again, because of the agility and my flexibility of understanding both worlds, it is really the perfect marriage in terms of trying to take two companies and two very distinct cultures, bring them together and integrate them both from an internal leadership and people standpoint, and then certainly from a business standpoint.
Yeah, perfect. So I understand that Tote already has a plan in place to reach profitability in the next 12 months. Can you kind of walk us through some of those plans? I mean, I read somewhere that you're going to be doing a lot of technology integration, maybe reformatting some of your stores. If there's anything you can share.
I can share some of it since we closed last Friday, and it's not even been a week. It's certainly early days, and early days for me to lead that charge. But we're definitely working to bring both Tote and Lord & Taylor to profitability as soon as possible. Certainly looking at technology to do that. A lot of the things that we've built into the Tote business model, integrating those into Lord & Taylor. That might be certainly reverse logistics, operations. We've done a lot of things from a proprietary standpoint at Tote that we can certainly share with the Lord & Taylor group. And then from a merchandising standpoint and customer focus standpoint, really being able to bring a lot of personalization to assortments, to customer choices, and really bringing, again, Lord & Taylor into the forefront of what that retail channel looks like. But right now, the focus is really bringing the two brands together and integrating into one company, one culture.
Great. And then I want to get back to that in a second. But so the clothing rental subscription part of Tote will be part of the new merchandising, I guess, offerings, or how is that part of it, the new company?
Sure. Yeah. Great question. So what I would say more globally and broadly, first and foremost, we're working to integrate the back ends of the two companies, which will then allow for the combined experience on the consumer front. What does that mean? The ability to rent, shop, buy all together and across both company footprints, whether it be online and store. So our vision is really not having the Tote or the Lord & Taylor or the Tote customer shop only one way. We would love the Tote customer, who is a rental subscription customer, to buy her beauty and footwear and intimate apparel and kids and all of those type of things, which we are not renting at the moment and for the foreseeable future. And really, and then allow the Lord & Taylor customer who may not have thought of rental as an option, an opportunity of access versus ownership, to really integrate the two together. And for example, we've already opened a rental studio in the Ridge Hill store, which is in Yonkers.
Oh, wow.
So we have, it's a small footprint. It's more of a showroom, if you will, branded Tote. So we opened it a few weeks ago and have gotten really great interaction with the consumers to hear what they have to say, walking into a Lord & Taylor, traditional department store experience and realizing that they have that option. So early days on that, but a lot of the integration will be on the back end that maybe the consumer won't see right away, but certainly it will change your experience in a meaningful way in the future.
Yeah, great. Interesting. That's so cool about the store in Yonkers. So you also sort of mentioned this, but I'd love to dig into it a little bit more. So tell us about your specific role as president. Obviously, you're probably going to be working on integrating the brands. Is there anything that you're most excited about working on, or the biggest challenge, or in your current role as president?
Well, sure. Since I just stepped into the role a few days ago, it's certainly early days. But what I am really, really focused on is getting to know the people, getting to know the process. As I said earlier, bringing the two brands together and really fostering a collaborative working relationship and environment between the two companies. So what do I mean by that? So we'll run two parallel organizations in many respects, whether it be merchandising or marketing. We'll have two unique organizations between San Francisco and New York, and a lot of integration and communication between the two of those. And that's to say, for instance, the merchandising in New York, for all intents and purposes for the moment, Lord & Taylor will be focused on stores and the digital platform on Lord & Taylor. The organization in San Francisco, of which is comprised with a lot of product development and online merchants, will be focused on rental, because there is a very differentiated need from an assortment and merchandise standpoint. So from a leadership standpoint, the two cultures are quite different. Again, I think in terms of having the background of both now, it's unique to me to be able to really understand both cultures and take the best of both, if you will, and integrate them together to come up with a new combined culture and organization that I think will really be much more future facing and holistic.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah, that's probably challenging, but I'm sure you'll be able to do it. It's challenging, but it's so my pleasure, to be honest with you, to really see what makes people tick, really be a leader that leads by example, that's transparent, that is honest, that is real. I think that there's a lot of formality in the Lord & Taylor organization, which is wonderful in many respects, but I don't want that formality
to extend to my leadership characteristics. I really want to be inclusive. I really want to know what people think. I want people to share their ideas. I don't want it to be tops down and that it's driven by me or any of the senior executives. And then everyone says, oh, well, you guys said to do that. I want everyone to have ownership of their piece of the pie and really maximize what they can to make a contribution and feel really great about what they're doing and why they're there.
Yeah, I mean, that's fascinating. I was actually going to ask you that question a little bit about your leadership style, but you kind of explained it. And I think that's great for the brand personally, just from an outsider to be real and to be transparent. And, it's a modern way of leading, I think. So I love that.
Thank you. I think it's so important. And I think it's important internally. I think it's important externally with our vendor partners to really create that partnership. There's a lot of great questions coming out of the vendor community right now. What are you thinking? How are you going to do that? How are you going to transform? And for all intents and purposes, it is a turnaround. And that's not being negative of the Lord & Taylor brand whatsoever. It's a turnaround to, again, adapt to a new environment, bringing technology, bringing data, bringing a much more holistic consumer experience, which I talked about before. And we really need our vendor partners to help to transform that. And to, having worked with them very intently over the last 5 years to help them understand rental model and a new business model, if you will, to really take that in a much more integrated approach is going to be super important. And then there's a lot of logistics, a lot of operations that go into running a digital channel, stores, et cetera, as you well know.
Yeah.
So really leading those entire organizations to drive the culture and the business forward.
Mm-hmm. So I'm sure you're going to be working with several new teams, new organizations within the organization, but I'm assuming that you're probably going to be doing some hiring as well. So I know our listeners would love to know about the type of people that you hire and what do you believe makes a great team? So
I try to hire diverse approaches, people who have strong backgrounds, but have interesting backgrounds as well. Mm-hmm. I actually don't mind if people jump around as long as it makes sense as to why they've done that and to create a much more 360 background, whether it be, professionally or personally. I love people who are not afraid to state their opinion, love questions. I love people who are interested not to own other areas of responsibility, but really interested in how to integrate into the company. I am big on collaboration. I am not big at all on silos, on politics. I know it's there. I totally get it. But I really want people who are interested in understanding the bigger picture and how they can contribute to that end. Mm-hmm. And I also look for people who are very comfortable at creating the roadmap alongside their peers and with me without having, an SOP or a manual to tell them what to do. I mean, that's the fun part of retail, right? Whether you're a merchant, you're in stores, you're in ops, all of these things, it's a living, breathing thing. And as much as you think you know what the roadmap's going to be, you really have to pivot and be able to be agile. And I think that word agility is such an important facet of what I look for in my hiring, so that people have that flexibility and that understanding of new approaches to really maximize the team and certainly the business and performance.
Yeah, it's almost like you're looking almost for entrepreneurs. It's we do a lot of coverage of entrepreneurs, and we have entrepreneur panels, and I always think those are interesting to everybody because you kind of want to learn how to be an entrepreneur, even if you're in a company. You just kind of want to be able to be agile, like you said, and not afraid to take risks, and work hard and be proud of the end result. So I think that's great.
I think that certainly having been at a late stage startup for the past 5 years, there was no playbook. There is no playbook.
Right.
Very entrepreneurial, self-starter, working together cross-functionally. But I honestly think, and taking this back into a much bigger, broader organization like Lord & Taylor, you can be entrepreneurial, whether you're working in a 3-person company or a 3,000 or a, huge public company. It's really how you conduct yourself. And I guess the last thing that I would say, and it's hard to do this and hard to make this determination in the hiring process. Somebody said to me, and I know this is one of your questions in the future, but someone said to me many years ago, I think it was when I was at Macy's, one of the only things that you can control is your attitude. And so I look for people who have a great attitude because, and my son is now 23 and in his first job. We were talking about this the other day. And I said, Benjamin, honestly, if you can walk in the door and have a great attitude and understand, even as, everything is happening around you, you can own that. And not that everybody has to be, Pollyanna and positive 100% of the time, but when you can walk out the door and hold your head high and say, I had a great attitude and really made the best of the day and the organization and the people and the business, that to me is super, super important.
Wow, that's great. What great advice too for your son. So let's talk a little bit.
Maybe he'll respect that in about 20 years. He listened. He didn't say anything. He did listen. So that's
right. That's good. Yeah. So since this is going to be posted on our website, womeninretailleadershipcircle.com or womeninretail.com, I should say. We're obviously very interested in women's roles and in business in general, at senior levels in general, and obviously in retail as well. So do you have any thoughts around how to get more women in the retail leadership pipeline, either at your company or the retail industry at large? Is that something that you think about, or?
It's definitely something I think about. I think retail there are a lot of women in retail. And on the wholesale side too, in the vendor community. Certainly, I think you're talking about at the top ranks.
Exactly.
Feel like I feel certainly, and I feel a huge responsibility to the organization, any organization that I've been part of. And certainly as I've worked my way up the ranks, to lead by example. Again, not because I'm a woman but just really leading by example. I think that it's hard. It's hard for everybody to be able to balance everything and feel like you can contribute fully to your work life and your home life. It definitely is something to juggle. But I think that I have never felt a glass ceiling ever.
Wow.
From anybody, men, women, at any company I've been in. So I think part of it is just, continuing to focus, look for great mentors, great partners. Again, I don't think it has to be women partners for women. I think that it's such a huge opportunity to have a diverse leadership team. We've actually been talking about that a lot as this integrated company comes together, whether it's diversity in gender or anything.
Right.
Any kind of diversity, I think it brings for a much more positive and positive experience, but also I think it's proven to create great business results.
Yeah, definitely. There's tons of stats on that too. So that's great. So I'm going to end with a goal. If you could tell me either like a professional goal or a personal goal or both or one or the other that you're focusing on in 2020 coming up here.
Sure. Well, I think for me, it's a combination personal and professional. This is a big job. Again, I'm so proud to have been asked to be part of this. For me, it's really to create balance for myself, for my team, for my family, for my friends, and really be able to focus fully and be present all the time wherever I'm at. And also to take things in stride. There's a ton of things on my mind right now, you can imagine, but really understanding that the critical mission right now and for the foreseeable future is really to bring the teams together to create that respect and trust amongst team members, again, in two very different companies on two different coasts, and allow myself the time and the energy to recharge and to really be, again, lead that holistic life, not to get too headspacey but honestly, just to be able to have that balance and fresh approach each and every day. So it's a big goal. It's going to be a tough one, but I've got a lot of support around me within the company and certainly personally to make that happen.
I think that's a great goal. I think being centered and being present and, just taking that time, it will just make you be a better leader. So I think that's fantastic. Well, I think that's probably all we have time for today. But Ruth, thank you so much. It was so great to talk to you and learn about what you're working on and how exciting in this new role. And we'll be cheering for you and thinking about you as the years go on. And thanks a lot for joining me on Women in
Thanks so much,
Talks.
Melissa. I hope that everyone shops at Lord & Taylor and Le Tote for this holiday season and beyond.
Yes, we will. Okay, thanks so much.
Thanks for listening. For more information on this podcast, please check out our podcast channel page at wirlc.com/podcasts for show notes. Women in Retail Talks is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, and Spotify. Make sure to subscribe on our podcast channel page as well. If you've enjoyed this episode, please take a few moments to rate and review this podcast. Thanks, and until next time, this has been Women in Retail Talks.